Oh, we've got 3 gentlemen here today, and maybe a lady later, and maybe me bouncing, and maybe a chihuahua. Oh, it's gonna be a big show today. It's Friday, 11 in the Pacific time zone, 2 in the other one where that Alden kid's at. I'm Ken Napsuck. That's Alden Diaz. That's Nikki Kumar. Hi, boys.
Hello.
Oh, I guess we should unmute Nikki.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is how we treat our guests here. We'll decide based on vibes if he has the right to speak. Yeah. Nikki's here. Nikki, of course, one of our good friends, Imperial Senate Podcast, Casually Talk contributor. Been on this show more than once. We have some chaos happening at Fort Knapsack today. So just in case we have to lose Ken, we didn't want it to just be me sitting here raging about Elon Musk. We wanted someone else here raging about Elon Musk.
Hey Nikki, can you yell? Can you yell at a guy?
I can try. I was here to just fill in the older bearded person should it be needed, but
yeah, that's what it is, really.
Yeah,
that's what it is. I have certain things I need for my comfort right now.
Yeah.
And one of them is a friend who's older than me. Yeah, I have where's my security bearded man? Yeah, it's been a lot, guys.
Yeah,
even right now as we're doing this show, there is a bald guy with a colorful Band-Aid blocking the Department of Education. So awesome. We're having a normal one here in the States. Everybody checking in the comments. Hello, everybody that is here. Maddie Gunner's here. Michael McCarcel, Cameron Stewart, Jared Bachman Stubbs, JMB, Paul's here. Ben's here. And like I said here, 1 like equals 1 middle finger to Elon Musk. Everybody like the video.
Good reference by David McKay. Nelly? One Band-Aid on. Yeah, and one do us a favor if you're watching live. Please like this video all at the same time. And help us fight that algorithm thing here, which, I don't want to turn that into cynicism. We actually have seen some growth the last couple weeks. We really appreciate it. And set up. So I'll just bitch and moan about my privileged home life here. We have some bathroom work being done. All right, Nikki, don't you say it. Don't you say it. It had nothing to do with me. All right, it's just wear and tear. We're getting our tub reglazed. Gentlemen, if you ever had a tub reglazed, giggity. It takes a while. So I have a strange man. It's our maintenance guy. We know him. But to my dog, it's a strange man. And pretty soon he's going to be here. And pretty soon my 5-pound chihuahua is going to go ape shit to the point where I won't be able to broadcast because Grace is out of town because that's why we're reglazing right now. That's my personal life, which means my face won't be here for the whole show today. And I apologize. Okay? I trust you too. Please do better than me.
I know it's we're supposed to be mature, but all the pieces of that story just come together so comedically. Fiance's out of town, so a strange man comes to reglaze. It's just fantastic.
And literally, you ready for this? He's coming in the back door because I have the back door unlocked.
Even better.
Yeah, and look, am I a hero? Yes, I'm a hero. You know why I'm a hero? Because I waited till she was out of town so I could sacrifice my own personal life. Guys, I can't shower for 3 days starting tonight.
That's cool, man. Just play Fortnite. You don't need to shower. What else are you doing? You're going to Flappers tonight. You're doing a
I got a show of Flappers. I won't be the first comic to stink on stage, so it'll be good. Anyways, yeah, Coop is right. So brave. Thank you. So brave.
Jared with a great reference here. From the desert comes a glazer. That's good. That's a reference to the Book of Boba Fett for those keeping score at home.
That's
man. So
I'm sorry, Ben. That's a man right there.
No, that is a real man. Yeah. I we don't have many guests very often, but since we have one, Nikki, in as brief or lengthy terms as you want. There's no criteria here. Not just how are you, but how do you process everything that's going on? Because I talk to you, but and for the people here, a lot of the times it's just me and Ken agreeing 95% of the time, but then the other 5 isn't even disagreement. It's just figuring out the angles we're coming at. Yeah,
right. I hear you.
Yeah. That's and you and I agree on a ton as well. but also you have an understanding of history that I don't have, and you have a patience that I don't have, just in general. So it's like, where are you at right now? Are you pulling your hair out when you wake up like I am?
No, my hair's already falling on its own, so I'm trying not to help that.
Sure.
Oh man, what a question. It's like there's no good answer really. It's just like the only word I can think of is like I'm in the Jurassic World rebirth trailer, and all I've got in my head is survive. It's like, so it's like, I don't know. It's sometimes it's just like the best thing for me is to disconnect a little bit. I think I've had a sort of development over the past year of not needing social media as much, which has been probably the healthy thing through all of it. But it is true also, it's a good way to be informed of various things depending on who you're reading. So yeah, it's, I don't know, I think for me a bit of it is controlling the intake, and just sort of like knowing when it's like, okay, now is my time, or versus like, okay, I do need to like see some things, see what's going on from sort of trusted places. So yeah, and that's sort of how I guess I'm processing it. I'm trying to be optimistic in some ways, but it's very hard to be optimistic. It's, you know, it's where where, as the joke goes, we're all sick of being in the unprecedented times. I'd like some precedented times. But I mean, I don't know. It's just survival. It's like whatever survival means to you in the day, like whether that's being like tuned in and screaming, if that helps you, or just sort of like, I don't know, going to catch a movie. I don't know. Like I try not to judge. I try not to judge how people make it through the week.
No, for sure.
I really agree with you there, and yesterday was a day where I unplugged a little bit, and it's not so much unplugging from the news, because the previous 2 days I was looking at every headline. Become a big fan of Ground News. I keep bringing them up on my all my shows, and I wish they were a sponsor because they sponsor all the other shows in the world. But it's a great place to look at the headlines, look at the different takes on it, and get informed. But then what I find, I don't know if you boys find this, and Alden, you and I were talking a little bit off air. Then I'll stumble onto someone in real life, a comment on a friend's Facebook post that I'm scrolling through to make sure I haven't forgotten any birthdays or something. And a case in point, yesterday, a comic I know, very liberal guy, posted very calm, just kind of like, what if I was to tell you all these things were going on in the world? Wouldn't you be concerned? The joke, not even a joke, but his statement being like, because it is happening, shouldn't you be concerned? And someone responded who I didn't know, this 6-paragraph Facebook post about, Clinton did all this first. Clinton fired all these people in the 90s. It was a hostile Deb takeover. And there's some things you look at and go, oh, okay, maybe I can see where you're coming from. But at the end of the day, this is not that. This is different. This is people's rights taken away. This is this weird war on woke that's just spilled out to surreal levels. And I got so mad, that's when I had to disconnect. I don't know if you all feel that, where sometimes I'm like, I'm plugged in, all of a sudden I'm like, I can't change that guy and I can't kill that guy. I got to go.
Yeah. I think that has been, I mean, it's no secret for you two of my best friends know how I am, and just how, like, I do not like the fact that we are constantly made to cede ground. But I also think that is, and maybe this is a therapy thing, I think 2016 to maybe like 2022, I was like, we should not have to cede ground. But I've had to shift my thinking on that into like, you're not ceding ground, you're like protecting your own bandwidth. And that has helped me, like, because I also pretty much quit Facebook. I also just use it as a memories checker and potentially memories deleter if need be, and a birthday checker. That's it. Same. I cold turkeyed Twitter after the election result, which, for people who know how active on Twitter I was, that was a huge, like, that was like, people when they cold turkey cigarettes, like, that was my moment.
Cut to Alden in his car.
I'm over here like I haven't tweeted. That's why I showed up on Blue Sky, just to like get this. Blue Sky is my gum. Yeah. It's my patches. But yeah, it's been really hard sometimes to try to reframe that though, and to think like, are we just like giving up? Are we giving them ground? And I've thought a lot about this. We talked about it last week in terms of like our media with like superheroes and things that don't seem important but are signifiers of the cultural shift. And like, why are we coddling the right wing? Why are we allowing them to do whatever they want? Why are we treating them like special little babies with special little privileges? And we're seeing that today. Like, I'm trying to not be so angry at Democrats, even though I really am, because it's just not helpful right now to be like, why are you guys being such fucking, why don't you fight? I get it. But when I'm looking at this like unelected person and all his unelected cronies just doing what they want, it really does feel like the natural endpoint of the coddling that we've done for them over the last few years. And Franny agrees. I know all Chihuahuas are anti-fascist. I know that in my soul because everyone that I've met has a big attitude.
Yes,
I've had a few over the years. Those dogs, they would be in it with us.
Keep going, boys. I'm checking my ring camera. Everything's good. She's just upset. She's upset at Elon Musk.
The glazing is beginning at Ken's house. Yeah. So Nikki, I guess like how do you feel about sort of that as like a concept that the progress that not progress, but the regressions that we've had and the way that this has progressed has sort of come on as like did we allow them to have too much bandwidth? Is it really like Jimmy Fallon ruffling his hair led us to hear like the things that you think are like these like shatter points, to use a Star Wars term?
I
answer seriously. Answer seriously.
Freddie's serving as therapy dog right now, honestly.
Yeah.
She does this thing with her neck. She loves being held and does this like sideways. Like, anyways, Nikki, answer seriously.
Yeah. I'd love to believe personally that Jimmy Fallon is not going to go down in history as a shatter point in our society. I'd like to believe that. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like what a question on a Friday morning. How do we get here? I don't know. Yeah. I don't really know. It's like I think, or actually, okay, I'll be old a little bit, just blame social media. Because I do believe that actually.
No.
I think so. I think social media has it's for all the good it has done in many regards. I think it's taken away so much humanity from how we see each other and talk to each other and look at each other. And I think that is the root of pretty much every issue that we face. We don't see the humanity anymore. Like it's one of those things where it's like back in the day when people watch like the same 4 channels, and even if you don't know people, you know for sure you're watching the same TV show or you're watching the same. It's like that concept of the water cooler show. Like there's just that shared spirit. And I feel like as social media grew and grew and grew, it put people more to, their little pockets. And I think when you lose that humanity and you sort of, when it becomes so much easier to dehumanize, to not see somebody as somebody like you, that just opens up every issue. Like you can name anything goes on. Like you can talk about politics, you can talk about the healthcare CEO assassination and the bullshit. I don't know if we can swear. Sorry.
No, please.
There we go. Or the things the healthcare industry does back to people. Like that's all dehumanization. And it's just like, yeah. I mean, so when I think about how we got here, like why is it this way? I think it's like, yeah, we don't see the humanity as easily as we once did. Some people actively go out of their way to erase the humanity. And I think honestly that that came from how our social spaces went online and became faceless and nameless. Like we used to like speak in public. Like we used to go, I mean, like public houses, right? Coffee houses
We used to hang out in malls. We used to be a country.
Oh, true. I was at the Glendale Gallery yesterday, and nobody hanging out.
Good Lego store there.
There was no like group of 4 to 5 teens just like laughing. That hasn't happened anymore.
With me in a security uniform glaring at them.
Yeah.
They're all
making Ken's day worse.
I mean that's my broad level view of why is everything bad. Like I think it's just like we don't see each other as people a lot of the time, and that's not great.
And it's the crush and the fear of I'll say AI in that umbrella term. It's part of those things of look, I'm here I am applying for a lot of jobs, and you can't go meet someone, look them in the eye, and shake their hands, and it's just we're all disconnected. It's something that's been on the heart of Joseph Scrimshaw over at Force Center. He's brought up a lot, but yeah, to like it's that thing of I don't know. Maybe this connects a little bit to what you're saying, Nikki. It's I have a black friend mentality where there's a lot of these folks crushing the rights of people who are like, no, I'm friends with Carl. I'm not a racist. I'm friends with Carl. Anyways, that nameless, faceless group, I want to vote for their rights to be taken away from. Like, it became so much easier to get away with that. I think it was always there, right? But it's like until it finds you. Until your insulin triples in price again, or till your cousin's insulin triples in price, humanity is far away from you, and that's been building for a long time. Alongside the Obama wins, and the Republican Party starts to freak out, and their plans start ramping up, and they go from Palin to birthers to Tea Party to all that stuff that I've seen talked about a lot this week. With that guy who went viral with the execution burst description.
That now has built to what some people are calling the broligarchy, which I don't even know if I like that, but like we don't need to cutify it. It's an oligarchy. Yeah. Like it's a tech oligarchy with unelected fascists. And I'm glad that the mainstream media right now is dropping the ball, as they have for the last better part of a decade. There are outliers, of course. There are people that everybody has their person where it's like, oh, I like Chris Hayes. I think Chris Hayes has done some good work.
Also, come on, because you cosplay as him as for Halloween.
Everyone's like literally 8 different people. I think at this point I've said, you kind of look like that kid from MSNBC. Read his book, A Colony in a Nation, if you never have. It's very good. But it's like. It's hard to almost even grasp because so much of it is happening at once, right? It's that thing that the only good Star Wars since Empire, Andor, described, through the character of Nemec, like the.
I've not seen that.
I think he's like, I was busy watching Willow, like a real adult. Bad Star Wars. And the Nemec's whole thing. Which, we poo-poo it because it's fun. But, obviously, brilliant show. Can't wait for season 2. One of the most brilliant things I think season 1 does is put into terms it's easier to hide behind 40 atrocities than 1. Because right now, the Department of Education is under siege. NOAA is under siege. Trans people are under siege. It just keeps going and going. HBCUs are under siege. It is a unrepentant, we're well beyond mask off, actual fascist takeover. Because somebody with enough money can buy the president. Because at this point, it's become very clear who the A player is. That was a question during maybe weeks 1 and 2. It is no longer a question. Donald Trump got in this specifically for revenge. I don't think he would have run again if it was not for revenge. He has no actual interest in governance. And to stay out of prison, He's now just handed it over to Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the president. For all intents and purposes. A department which does not actually exist because it cannot actually be created is now bullying the departments and the people that would have to ensure its creation. It is absolutely maddening. And I can't, and Nikki, you could probably speak to this too, because of your knowledge about history. And I always think about what you told me about that one professor you had in your course about the Roman Empire. I always think about that. And if you want to give some insight and share that and share people like how you think it connects to right now.
Is that your Roman Empire?
His Roman Empire is the actual one.
Yeah. But yours is thinking about the professor talking about the Roman Empire?
Exactly. And mine is thinking about Nikki telling me about the professor telling him. That's what it is. And just connect it to sort of how this is still a baby state and it might now be a failed state.
Yeah, I mean it is one of those things. I mean we're a strange country to put it lightly. Yeah. Like we're the first in a lot of things, some good, some not great. Some it's one of the most fascinating political experiments, when you look at it from the onset. And yeah, I guess the story about my professor, I took 2 semesters that were split Republican Empire. So it was like, you got the full breadth of it. And basically at the end of the class, our professor was sort of like, so Rome lasted like, I don't remember the exact number now, which is shame on me, but it's like 475 or like 495 or something years. And he's like, the United States lasts that long. I think that's a pretty good run. And just kind of like ended the class on that. It's like, okay, bye. And so yeah, no, it is one of those things. It's like, and that's the other thing. It's cyclical. Like this is what happens to global powers. Like you can go back all sorts of. There's a great book called 1177 BC about sort of like those earlier Mediterranean and like Egyptian sort of like power structures and how they fail, and it's always a lot of things until one last thing just pushes it, and so yeah, I think that it is a worry, because it's like I think I still get a little bit like that, like the newsroom opening like scene, like it's in my head every now and again, where I do like believe that, like that makes me mad, where it's like, yeah, all this sucks, but we should be better because we can be. Like I do believe that fully, like we should, like with what we have at our disposal of education systems, financially, it's like we should be the lighting, what beacon on the hill, or what, city on a hill, right? City on the hill, like we should be that. We our military force should be the greatest peacekeeping operation in the history of the earth, but like it's not, because for whatever reason, it's the nonsense is bipartisan throughout history. You can point your fingers in every which direction, but it's like we're not, and we're the other term I like is the fake Gucci bag developed nations, where it's like I remember even just casually, one of my friends was like, man, this is a really good place to live if you're filthy rich, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's true. Like what a great thing to look at, and then be like, wait, like 90+% of us are struggling. It's like, why? Yeah. Like why? Yeah. Why is that?
And why can't you convince a lot of that 90% that they are struggling for a reason beyond just Joe Biden or one political party throughout history? You know what I mean?
Or just like, or othering communities.
Yeah.
Like any, whatever it is, the minority is the problem, is like the oldest trick in the book. And we teach children this. We teach small children this stuff. This Nazi playbook, how did it happen? Every single child in this country that goes to public or private school sits down and has a moment, whether it's about Germany, whether it's about the civil rights movement, whatever it is. Every classroom of children, elementary age children, has that how could they do this moment? And no adult seems to have internalized that. And that's a generalization, obviously. But like adult generations haven't internalized that. You know, it's like we talk about our parents on this show. Ken, you've talked about yours a lot recently, and just like sort of the strife and everything. And it's like, you know, I look at like my mother, she's in her late 50s now. And it's like, she's not old. She was alive when there were colored water fountains still. And it's like you look at like they put it in black and white to fuck with you. Like it was all right there. And yeah, like how do you convince these people that it isn't trans people? You know, they get these wins, like banning them from, you know, what the you know, sports and the NCAA and all that. And it's like there are about 10 trans athletes in the entire college sports community of all the sports. There are 10.
Yeah.
And I think it's 10. And it's like, how is that even a thing that like some, you know, white dude in Missouri should even be fucking concerned about? You're worried about gas in your car and food on your table. And you're not smart enough to make the connections. And then the Department of Education is under siege and you don't see how that's a connection, how like that's not supposed to keep you in your place and everything. And it boggles the mind. It really does. And especially because, you know, and Nikki, I don't know if you've had these encounters, you know, in Texas, because you've been in Texas for so many years, you know, and obviously you live in California now because you chose to be an elite, but it's like, you know, how do these people not see it? Or how do they not want to see it? That's a thing that I've also come to, is that, like, I don't think a lot of these people actually believe it. I think they're just afraid of making a change. Like, you know, Ken, you've been open about your arc, you know, from like childhood to adulthood and how you've gone like completely other way politically. Is it fear? Are they afraid of having an arc? Like,
I think there's a lot of fear. Yeah. I think there is that fear, and it all sounds good. This is why it's the playbook. This is why we all keep saying, you know, George Lucas was right. He wasn't right. He just was pointing at the screen like Leo and going, hey, this is what happens throughout history and will happen again, and was happening in the 70s with Nixon and everything. Yeah. No, whether or not I think you said it even off air, of like whether or not they secretly don't believe or have just been convinced. I don't know, but like, there's a lot of people I know in my life who are posting about how great things are in these last 2-3 weeks. And it's all based out of this kind of false sense of victory. I think fallen feels like flying, and they don't know that they're in the last gasp. Change always wins. It takes decades, if not centuries sometimes, and that's not enough time for people. There's that great James Baldwin moment of like, I paraphrase it, but, you know, yeah, change is slow, but tell that to the people destroyed, killed, and removed from existence when that slow change happens. But change does eventually win every time, and I think they feel it. And I think my friends and family on that side, I think they're holding on to that fear, and so it sounds good. So removing trans athletes to stand up for our women. Don't you stand up for women? How can you not stand up for women? That boxer. It's like, well, that boxer at the Olympics was biologically a woman. But that boxer. And it's just it's just this wall of fear.
And there's no consequences. Like we talked about that when that happened, you know, of J.K. Rowling and Logan Paul and like these people that were going after her. Iman Khalif, I believe, was her name.
Yeah.
And they go after her, and they're wrong, like just like factually, demonstrably fucking wrong.
Factually wrong. Yes,
factually wrong, provably wrong. And there's no not even a blip of consequence for trying to destroy someone's life like that. But today, one of these Doge fuckers, you know, racist tweets get unearthed from him where he says that we should be promoting hatred against Indian people. And Elon Musk is now going after the journalist who unearthed the tweets. There's always a punishment for being right. There's always a punishment for progressives. There's always a punishment for trying to unearth it. There is never a punishment the other way. I've never told this story on air, but I'll tell it now. The only time that I was ever reprimanded at iHeartRadio in my entire broadcast career thus far, the only time I was ever reprimanded was because I offended a Trumpy. Not even someone we worked with, a listener. So they will broadcast racists and bigots like Brian Mudd and Limbaugh and Beck and Hannity and half the people in the local cluster too, and they will broadcast that shit left, right, and sideways, poo-pooing women from 6 a.m. all the way to midnight, making bullshit jokes, doing racist accents, radio, Ken, like whether it's political or it's music, it's still getting in. The jocks are doing it just as much as the actual commentators. They will do this left, right, and sideways. And I got a phone call from the senior vice president of programming, called me after hours to ream me out over the phone. This was during COVID lockdown. But after, or maybe not lockdown, hard to say what phase of lockdown we were in. It was right after Joe Biden had won. And so we're still home. And I had posted on Twitter that I can't remember my exact wording, but I was very hard on them. And I had said, I hope that all the MAGA people, now that they've lost, keep wearing their red hats forever. I was like, we should have the Aldo Rain philosophy. I want to know who you are forever. You should not get to take off the uniform. Wear it always, blah, blah, blah. And he called me and was like, I know we totally support your right to be politically involved. We love that. But like, a listener filed a complaint and everything, and we have to. Not once did these people who still call their hip hop station urban ever do anything about anything that mattered. But I got reprimanded for that, which is not to say that, like, I should be up on the fucking cross. Obviously, this is a minor incident, but it just it really opened my eyes of like, these people will always coddle these fuckhead bigots every single time. And it has, I really think that it has led us to this place that we're in, where someone like Elon Musk, who will never hold under any scrutiny whatsoever. Like he got, like when Bob Iger and him were beefing for like a hot second because Disney pulled off X, and he went on stage, remember, and was like, "Where's Bob? Where's Bob? Fuck you, Bob." And like thought he was gonna get like a crowd pop from that, and like no one cared. Like, like there was not a single ooh, like no one reacted at all. Like these are fundamentally weak
again. Like you guys heard
me,
right?
I think you did. Yeah. Yeah. Like, these are fundamentally weak human beings. Yeah. And I think we need to, and we almost had it with Tim Walls's framing of their weird. And like I know Chris Murphy the other day from Connecticut, my home state. Not that I love everything he says, but he's been out there. He was like these creepy little weirdos. Like we need to reframe it as like these people are weak. Like Trump voters are, especially Trump voters that are men. You are weak men, and I don't understand how we dropped the ball on that for so long. But it's really it's starting to fuck with my perception.
Yeah, I think there's and by the way, for those just joining, because of a house repair situation, I'm holding my Chihuahua so she does not bark. Speaking of strong men holding their little Chihuahuas, I think there's we are defeated by our own decency. I got a show tonight. I've been doing a new bit I'm going to bring out, and it revolves around Abraham Lincoln being gay, or at least bisexual, pansexual. We don't know because he wasn't allowed to be it. And how he's held up as the standard for all presidents, mostly by Republicans, which there's some truth to that. And there's also a bigger, complicated story of his legacy. But they hold him up as the number one. And I have a whole joke about it. And it's basically a dick sucking joke, but it's funny and it's good. But I'm afraid to do it because I don't know, because the people in the audience who would be offended by it are going to say something where we don't. I've been in the audience for some really offensive stuff. Up on stage where I've watched some comics say some things that the audience is uncomfortable, but all of us, I'll just say as a general term, us are so decent that we just sit on it and wait for the next comic. Whereas the MAGA hecklers is a thing, and Steve Hofstetter is a great comic to look up. He's gone viral for destroyed MAGA hecklers, all that stuff, which you can get cynical about those YouTube channels. He's great, and he just goes right at it. But that's kind of the thing where like they're the Karens. There's a reason there's that Venn diagram that's pretty small. If you go to a restaurant and complain about the help, you're more likely to be that kind of voter, where we're more likely to be decent and empathetic. And that's part of the problem. And on that note, I'll be right back. I got to go check something.
Yeah, go for it. The glazing continues. Yeah, Nikki, how do you feel sort of about the arc that we've all been on that we're talking about, where like we end up in this place now where the most fragile, and again, we should always emphasize unelected and illegal. Like it's not just like, because I feel like in Trump 1 there was a lot of always a back and forth. We always had to speculate. We always had to determine if he could do what he said he was going to do. We always had like, we're so beyond it now. Like these guys are illegal. Like every single time that we've said, hey, they're doing this, there's always the, well, let's look at it from every angle. We like the Nazi salute thing was another one. Well, was it really? Okay, well, maybe let's say it wasn't, right? Let's say it wasn't. Why is he in checks notes Germany supporting the far-right party? So it's just like we need to cut the shit. It is an unelected Nazi oligarch doing this stuff. How do you feel about the fact that like we kid gloves them even as they are taking over buildings? We kid gloves them.
I think the wider, I mean, I don't have every answer, obviously.
For sure.
The thing I'm thinking about just right now is the money, and that is the heart of everything, right? Like it's similar. It's something actually I'm thinking. Well, we've been talking about our just this idea of I think Ken said something like was it like held back DC or whatever, like I think a space we're in, you and myself, Ken, friends in the chat, like we all exist, a lot of us, in this Star Wars fan media world. And when you look at it, it's like, okay, who tends to make the most money in that world? Who tends to get the most views? Is it the analysts or is it the rage? And unfortunately, the rage makes the money. And I think that goes back to why were you the one reprimanded? Why that? Why is it the stuff like the non-MAGA comics? Like I think the rage makes so much money that the whole apparatus is built to maintain them. So it's like, it's like, so yeah, we all sit around and we have incredible conversations, of light and life about Star Wars, and and then at the end of the day we hang up and wonder, what's for dinner, and meanwhile the angry people are the ones raking in God knows how much money. And I think the same works with media. It's like, or I guess, like that's the point. It's like, that's how our Star Wars fan media works. Why should we expect our politics or anything to be any different?
For sure.
Like that is how the news media works. Why do they talk about Elon Musk and doing his his salute wave? Why do they talk about that endlessly? Because it makes more money to talk about it than to shut it down. Like, and that is the problem with, again, like I'm not so like opposed to like news media on TV. I think obviously like, you have to have it, but I think that is the old curse of 24-hour news media of like it's a game. It's a game, and it's a game dealing with like our entire well-being, right? Like they're one of the offensive barriers. That's how they should be seen, and instead it's varying degrees of propaganda or varying degrees of just sitting around and like talking about nothing and getting nowhere, and it's like, okay, see you next time or same time tomorrow night, we'll do the same thing. All right.
Yeah.
And it's just
you're right.
Yeah, so
you're right, man.
Yeah, it just goes in circles. Yeah, I think that's what that's sort of the heart of it. It's like the rage is profitable, and it's like it's almost like for them it's like, I mean, again, they're outliers, but it's like keep people like enraged, engaged, as opposed to informed.
And slightly confused, right? Keep the margins of doubt. Like, it's not just like that they want to do 24-hour rage coverage on the fact that he's a Nazi. It's that they want to beat around the bush and constantly have a question mark next to the word Nazi. Like,
so you come back.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Well, next time
they want to have the whole conversation with still enough reasonable doubt, and like and it lets them put the wool over people's eyes. Like, there were people literally arguing in the right-wing media, suddenly acting like they ever cared about autistic people, saying that, well, he's autistic and this is just how his body is and everything. Meanwhile, they are gutting like the Department of Education that's going to help actual autistic kids in school and everything. So it's like they will always, and like I start this comment here, whether it's, and this is what I mean by it's every community, right? Like, it's Jewish people, it's autistic people, it's trans people, it's today Indian people like Vance, like our listener here, Marissa. She said, in Vance's comments today show how quickly they'll throw the females in their lives under the social bus if they can get a pat on the head from the men they view as on top of their hierarchy. That's true. And we're referencing Second Lady of the United States, Usha Vance, who is an Indian American. Her children with the VP, Indian Americans. And today he was like supporting this guy who's literally in writing wanted to boost Indian hatred. And it's like, he went to the Ted Cruz school of respecting your wife. Like, it's just like, you just can literally, they would let them do anything. It's insane.
I'm laughing because Adam's like, oh, that's my wife. Hey, wife.
That's Adam Fraser's wife? What a crossover.
Great.
We're big fans of your husband. Congratulations.
That's great. That's great.
Years later, after, I'm assuming you didn't get married yesterday, so very late. Congrats on that. Yeah, it's mind-blowing. And honestly, like, we talk about the money, which honestly is a great point, and it is the point in a lot of ways because of the unfettered nature of capitalism, because this is where we're at, right? Like, they have no end game. It's not like Elon Musk actually has any interest in like ruling. I don't think he has like real plans. It's just that he just wants to have unchecked capital forever.
Yeah,
they want to be richer than anything. Yeah, and
I think he thinks this is all pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's just a flex. It's a flex, and like you could see it. And I want to be careful with how I phrase this in the way that, like, you know, I don't want it to come off like I'm poo-pooing any like body modification or anything. But like, when you look at someone like him who has had his jaw squared, has had the hair plugs, has done everything to create this. I mean, he had the Iron Man 2 cameo for a reason, right? Like, he wants to be that, and has always wanted to be that. And everyone kept laughing at him along the way. You could arc the same thing with Trump, like why the spray tans, why the everything. It makes sense. Like, these are visual symbols of people that are cosplaying roles, and a square jawed guy with perfectly coiffed hair. Like, he wants to be that powerful figure. Like, he's on the cover of Time today in a bad way. He sees that as a compliment. No doubt. He sees that as a huge win. And yeah, I mean, it's no coincidence, when you bring up the money, you bring up these people and I said this to you in text, Ken, and again, I'm gonna be very careful with the phrasing. And we should caveat it again, just like we did the first time when we talked about it. Nobody is saying that assassinations are good. No one is saying that. However, it is a real point that, like, the only thing that we've rallied around in the post-election world was the assassination of a like heinously wealthy billionaire capitalist that was about to go to a gala to celebrate record profits. And once they realized that they didn't have the public opinion on that, once they realized that jury selection was going to be awful and could even result in jury nullification, once they realized that he was being put on those like thin saint candles and stuff and was having graffiti everywhere, notice how they stopped covering it entirely. You have to actively search out updates, which there are every day updates on the Mangione case. They don't want to have that out there because it represented a seismic shift in class consciousness. I think you'll be able to look back at 2016, 15, 16, Bernie, and this as the two biggest like class consciousness moments in at least recent American history. And they don't want that because they don't want us to think what we're all thinking. And again, we're going to be very careful with our verbiage. This is YouTube. This is owned by a big company. We're all people with lives and jobs and stuff. But it's like when you look at where we're at with the unchecked power and the fact that the Democrats are utterly helpless to do anything. I respect to them for being out there, respect to everyone who's not going to give up. But like, there's no system that you can win right now. You lose every vote. You lose every confirmation vote. You can't hold the floor. They don't care. They have the feds. They'll literally attack you. So it's like there's no way around the fact that I feel like this is going to end in what I will in a very PG way say a situation. I thought it might happen with the campus protests last year. I am on the record on this show. I thought a Kent State was about to break out at Columbia or somewhere, or UCLA. It didn't happen, thankfully. I can't imagine that we get out of this one totally unscathed. And that's a scary thought in a lot of ways.
I think that was something I remember with the initial sort of wave of the assassination story was almost this like disbelief of like, how has this not happened more often? Right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's watching people being pushed to breaking points. That's happening in countless ways. Not even just in America, like the globally, like, and obviously there are political assassinations. It wasn't too long ago the former Japanese prime minister was shot in the street. Like that was that happens. But
or
it is
South Korea where they removed the president that was trying to do martial law and like got his ass like overnight and everything. Like no,
it's just it is a scheme because it's like that is sort of what happens when all the options are off the table. People resort to violence, and there's no world where that's a good thing. But so it happens out of sometimes desperation, necessity, like I don't know, and it's just like it is a scary place to be in.
You have to wonder too, like at what point do we stop treating ourselves and our situation with like this exemplary aura of like we're not, because like and obviously there are people that know a lot more than me that can get into these terms, but like the whole like first, second, and third world designations, the whole way that like we view ourselves, it's like if this same stuff was happening in any other country, we would be talking about it as the fall of the state, right? If it was if it was in India and an Indian almost trillionaire, or if it was in Saudi, or if it was in Gaza, if it was in Italy, wherever, anywhere that's in the news right now, if there was some version of this, we would be like, they won't even let their officials in there. This is why we're great, because we have freedom, right? Not like that. Like we would immediately be on it. Well, it's happening here right now. Your government can't get into work because an unelected person who is a fascist decided that they can't. And you have to start wondering, like, when is it not okay? I don't want to litigate like the act on the show, but like we have to start asking ourselves, like, the Canadians are booing our anthem, like we're threatening other nations, like all this stuff is happening. At what point is it kind of like, no, we get it, like when are people actually going to wake up? Like I don't have a huge frame of reference. I don't think any of us does. It's not like the three of us are traveling the country talking to people, but like my stepfather, who is kind of one of those like my vote doesn't even matter people, was on the phone raging about how they're in the systems and like they're looking at our money, they're looking at our taxes, like, so it's like maybe there are these little pockets maybe of people that are starting to realize like it might have to be drastic. I don't know. It's really, really hard
to say.
Ken, Francis.
Yeah, again, apologize. She's being a good little.
Oh, she's great.
Doggy. She's being good.
Chilling.
Okay.
I want to be like her right now.
Yeah.
I want to be held,
swaddled in my bosom. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's when it comes to the door. It's I only have frame of reference from my own family and friends from that side, where it's like they all hate the health insurance industry. Like we all run into that bureaucracy and you can't get this and the forms and this and that, and they rage against it. But the moment you suggest, well, maybe healthcare should be a right, and we should also all have access to it. Wow, now hold on, the American dream is capitalism and free market. That's how we preserve Jesus. And this weird sheen comes over all of them that I can't get through. And so I'd love to, see if there's a little bit of a little bit of fermenting of revolution growing out there, because it's finding them in their pocketbooks or in their doors, or the stuff going on. I don't know. That's where I'm at this week, where I lack the faith after seeing again some posts this week where it's just like, man, they're cheering this on. They're cheering this on, and maybe it needs to fall for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's what George Lucas said. Like, democracies aren't overthrown; they're given away. Like,
yeah. I mean, there's definitely I don't know what the right word for it is. It's almost a sadistic glee that I feel at times watching some of these people like realize how they've been played. Like,
I love
the Schadenfreude of it.
Yeah. Like, sometimes I feel hope. Sometimes I feel like I feel the enormity of how screwed we are. But it is like it is that thing, and it's it's similar to why are they getting rid of education? Like education is not about knowing facts, right? Like at its core, it's not about that. It's about developing the critical skills to make it through life, and it's more intangible than like, oh well, do you know where Calvin Coolidge was born? Like,
no,
it's not that, and so that's why they get rid of it, because it's like, yeah, people are resistant to change just in general. I feel, and then B, it's like they're not given the tools to look at it in any way. I think that's partially the problem in cases when during the election we were like, they're leading us into fascism. They're taking away. It's fascism, and then people are like, it's not fascism. Like, we're not putting people in gas chambers. Like, it's not fascism, because that's what they think fascism is. Probably they don't have the sort of overall ability to know. It's like, no, fascism is about getting rid of the guardrails that are put in place to stop this sort of like power reorganization or whatever. And so it's like that's the danger of they want people to not be as educated. It's like it's not about necessarily want you reading this book for the content. It's I don't want you reading this book and then thinking, right? Like, so yeah, I mean, that is the hardest thing, and it's similar to Ken talking about these, the we bring up like the glaze going over these people's eyes and talking about capitalism and Jesus and that, and it's like, yeah, I don't know how you get through to those people when they've lost. It's like, it's very hard to reinstall critical thinking, like in a late date. And that's why they go after education, so that it never gets put in the first place. And
that's why Elon Musk even had a fan base to begin with. Like, the mythology of like his life, which we do for all these billionaires, right? Like, Jeff Bezos, self-made, unless you actually look at the origin. Like, Elon, look at all these companies that he created fucking what? We accepted that narrative, but the critical thinking is being able to say, okay, well, he was born into wealth. The wealth comes from exploitation. All he did was buy stakes in these things. He weaseled his way into these things. But without education, to your point, it's like, we will continue to just buy the narrative that is presented every single time without context, without any digging. And it's sad, man. Yeah.
I think the worry for me.
Go for it, Nikki.
Oh yeah, just gonna say really quickly, like, you brought up that point of like, if we looked at this happening in any other nation, we'd say, look at the fall of the state. And I think the big worry for me is like, when it, again, we're hardly this bastion of perfection here, but what America does in the world is important. It is consequential, like that's undeniable. And so when those things are happening here, I get worried about it becoming the mainstream, because like I don't know if, like, it's almost like one of those things, like if there's a nebulous, like, demon or whatever, like pushing this thing on the world, it's like, oh, if we take America, we can take anyone. And I feel
and
like
there is a right wing rise, and almost every major world power right now.
Globally, it is the right is on the rise. And I think like that's the worry. It's like if we go down, I don't know who resists. Like that's something I do think about, like to the point where it's like, who's the outside looking in on us? Like there may not be one that much longer. I mean, even people know, like, as soon as our election hit, Elon went over to make buddies with Nigel Farage, and it's like, okay, UK's got their next in the crosshairs. So yeah, like it does matter. Like we are a nation of consequence globally. And yeah, I don't know where the resistance comes from, because like you could, I mean, you talk about the ghoulish nature with which now Trump is talking about Gaza. And it's like, at what point do we get to a level where it's like, Russia and China just start actively divvying up the world? It's like I don't know. It worries me. So yeah, on that happy note.
Eli just posted something that I thought he was maybe joking of, but no, 2 hours ago, Donald Trump announced that he was going to make an executive order next week, ending the paper straws and going back to plastic.
Right.
They've successfully turned that into a liberal versus conservative argument. I know right now a lot of people in my life are going to be championing this as a finally, that those dumb straws that evaporate, which, they do. So there's the problem. You're speaking this little weird truth that people are get behind because those damn liberals brought in the paper straws. That's the thing,
is that they force leftists, I shouldn't say leftists, anyone on the liberal to left spectrum, anyone that would vote blue for whatever situation, they force us to defend shitty points.
Yeah, it's like when I said up the election trying to argue with my parents, hey, you should vote for Biden or just Democrats in general. But could I borrow some money because I'm being crushed by capitalism? It was tough for them to see that blue would be right. And then when I pointed out that, hey, capitalism has failed, it's not, maybe even never worked, but it's failed. And I can't tell you how offended they got. That's a lie. It's not a lie. But then this is stuff. They're successful. The Republicans are successful in this kind of shit. That just what you said.
They're better at messaging. They're way better at messaging.
Yeah. The plastic straws are the American way. They're the American. Vote for that shining city on the hill that's going to destroy the world one straw at a time. Mind you, straws, those shitty paper straws have gotten better at some places. There's actually been advancement in straw technology. And it shouldn't be a left or right thing. It should be a human world thing, right? The environment. And I'm seeing this right now. And holy crap, that's going to be the big win. They're not going to care about trans rights being removed because we got our damn plastic straws back. Just like God willed it.
But in essence, they are kind of like, not that the issues are the same. Obviously, they're not. But they serve the same purpose, right? Because it's like,
yes,
some like dumb fuck out there complaining about woke with his fucking jorts and his high socks or whatever. Like, he's out there bitching and moaning about woke and straws and everything, as if that's John Cena would never wear the high socks. You show some respect. You show some respect for the 16-time world champion.
Danny, you can't see me.
He would these hypothetical people, which are very real in a lot of instances. They think that's why they're fucking poor, right? Like, they think that's why they're struggling. They think somehow this shows the competence on behalf of their man to lift them out of near poverty wages and shit like that. And it's like they are so easily bamboozled. And then we go over to the opposition party and like, what are the arguments, right? We talked about this a little bit last week. What is the opposition party doing? Let's check in on Schumer. He's got his social media team doing the same copy and paste of tariffs. Never once actually telling anybody what a tariff is, which like he shouldn't have to, but it could be helpful. He hasn't done that. He's just doing snark tweets about Trump's tariffs and chanting, "We will win." So great. We got Hakeem saying that God is on the throne, which I talked about last week, which is hilarious because it's like, okay, well, that by that logic, if he's always on the throne, he's been on the throne during some awful shit that he didn't stop. So great. I'm glad that he's empowering Hakeem Jeffries. That's good. That's good, Hakeem. Very nice. We like there's nothing on this side in terms of their party leadership, which is falling apart. I mean, like, there's been no word from Kamala Harris whatsoever. Joe Biden signed with CAA because he's trying to go get a part in Nikki's first film.
Re-signed. I do want the clarification of that. Re-signed.
Oh, he re-signed. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, he was already in the family. He was already in the family. That's fine. I literally wrote down in my
it's very simple.
I wrote down in my notes Biden movie pitches ? But I don't know.
It's weird. It's pretty normal. It's pretty normal. I actually was around Stacey Abrams we have a mutual friend who had a short film being screened at a high level agency, and she was in the lobby while she was running for governor. She was signing with that agency. It's pretty normal, but man, those optics are really bad.
Like I got angry about it on principle because
but you should. But I'm going to be clear. I think you should, because if I had done that, I would have been like, please don't tell anyone. Now it could leak and everything, but like I have to do this. I have to do this.
The truth
but
of it is like he's going to probably do maybe what like Barack and Michelle did, or Harry and Meghan. Like. He'll narrate a documentary about some topic he likes, you know.
But it's like now.
But exactly. Now? So there's no leadership on this side at all right now. People are trying whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, and we're still getting beat. Like, even as we agreed, and by we I mean just the whole opposition, that these were fascist and said it left, right, and sideways on the campaign trail. The second they won, we were like, guess there's nothing we could do. Now exactly what they said they were going to do is happening. Because the thing is that, like, 2016 Trump, they were liars, right? This time they were not liars. They were rat bastards, but they didn't do nearly as much lying. They were very open about what was going to happen. There was a lot of day one announcements. One of them being, I wanted to bring this up, Ken, before you had to go, in case you do. Jared brought it up here. Like, the Luigi stuff only goes so far, referring to class consciousness. America has such little class consciousness that the conservatives that supported Luigi all immediately went back to backing the blue, which is, I don't necessarily need you to respond directly to that in terms of Luigi, but like that's one of the things. So we look at this opposition, and we had I think what's the police union? The fraternity of something.
Fraternal police order.
Fraternal order. Yeah. Biggest police union in the entire nation disavowed Trump and rescinded their endorsement after he'd already won. And great, whatever. So you guys got it. You understand that he attacked you guys on January 6th and then pardoned everyone that did it to you. Now you guys are good, right? Now you're gonna like start to question. And then where are they today? Helping him take over these buildings. And it's like that type of like resistance is what will fuck us. That like we will say it, but then we're gonna help him carry it out. We will say that he's these things, but we're gonna have tea with him on the first day. Like, it goes from Joe all the way down to a patrol officer, you know?
It's the decency thing. It's the tied to the decency, which we keep telling people we should all be decent. That's part of why we want some of these, policies to not go into effect, and because that's the decent thing to do. Yeah, it's tough in terms of the police thing, and being around them for 17 years of my former career, and best friends are in that line of work. Yeah, this is pretty common. Look, there, and in some ways, I've seen them protect people they disagree with on the left at events, and I've seen it work all the way around. But it's that weird glaze that comes over. I described it as the hardening of the hearts of law enforcement back during, the world post George Floyd's murder, where you know, they've dehumanized. The connection is gone to what you talked about earlier in the show, Nikki. I explained, like, I personally had arrested like over 100 people involved in thousands of arrests. There had been times where I put my knee on the back of necks. That's a control move. If you don't realize what is about to happen, and your heart's disconnected from the situation, you have glazed over. You are now part of the problem, and they don't even bat an eye. That's why they're still like shocked that some of these officers, very few, get arrested, prosecuted, or even put in jail. Even fewer, and they just can't see the connection. So I just thought an answer to you, or maybe even to Jared's, but like seeing those federal officers do that, it's almost done with a shrug. Yeah, it's my job. Like I was telling you off air, you know, like, I was told to put all those people in the concentration camp. I was just doing my duty. That's been the biggest excuse throughout history, right? As fascism is stamped over a lot of things. I was friends with a police officer who was a South African police officer. He had met Nelson Mandela in jail, and to hear him describe it, it was frightening. I remember being slightly amused because I was young and stupid, but to hear him, he'd tell these fantastic stories, these war stories. You'd be like, oh my God. He'd be like, yeah, then we took our guns out and we shot all these terrorists. You're like, whoa, terrorists. And then you realize, oh, there were people resisting the South African apartheid government. Oh, you weren't fighting terrorists. You were fighting people fighting for their rights. And it just was a day at the office for him. It's scary. It's scary shit. And it boils down. And I think it is having tea with Trump. It is that mindset. Is that it's what you do.
And it makes them act against their own self-interest, right? Like whether it's these police officers, or it's like, we know for a fact that he would send the mob after you if you're not loyal. He's already sent in these memos of resign, take the buyout, quit, everything to the FBI and the CIA. Yeah. But they will act against their own self-interest. And that is something that has happened repeatedly on all these levels, you know, all the way up to the top. Like I ranted about Joe and Netanyahu on this show for like the last year. I've seen some kinky shit in my life, and I've never seen someone get dog walked as much as Netanyahu dog walked Joe Biden just to get what he wanted, what he obviously wanted. He played Joe like a little baby bitch the entire time, while openly showing us which one he would rather have. Now he got it. And it's like, where did your complying with your ally, like, what did that get you, man? What did it actually do? It helped no one. You just assisted in the killing of babies now for it to get worse, which is a whole other conversation. But
it's biblical.
Yeah.
But it's biblical.
Yeah.
Remember,
of course,
I still hold on the fact that the idea of supporting Israel at all costs is biblical. Yeah. And that is why it's the Karen thing. Even I'm not saying Joe Biden would have stood up to Netanyahu, but even if there was someone who's like, yeah, no, F you, they had to be concerned about all the Karens in our country who'd be like, but the Bible says, Bible says, if you turn your back to Israel, you shall be destroyed. Like that's that decency thing again. And I agree with you. Look where it's at.
Nikki, I'm not throwing to you to have a comment on solving Israel-Palestine or the American police state.
I am solving.
You know, those old chestnuts. But how do you feel sort of about the state of whatever you want to call it, whether it's the opposition party, the resistance, the Democrats, which, you know, it's hard to even say the Democrats because it's not just them in name, but like, how do you feel about where we're at? And sort of, at least, you know, we're 4 years apart, you and I, but like for our age group in the Clinton to now era, this seems like the first time that I can really remember where there hasn't been any discernible leadership or direction. And just sort of, what's your read on where we're going?
Yeah, I think
solve that, Nikki.
Yeah. So something that actually, speaking of, is I saw him share not long ago was the memo that went out from Republican leadership in Obama term 1 when they had House, Senate, presidency, and it was like, it was the Republican fight plan, and it was this memo of every little nook and cranny and like piece of bullshit, like you know, procedural thing they can do to make their day worse. Because again, it's like we ideologically, we can tear these people apart, you know, and expose them and whatever. But functionally, they were in the same position we are now. That's what it is functionally. And so it became this thing of like, okay, how do you, for them, they viewed that, you know, giving people healthcare is me. And it's like, okay, so how do we fight that? And so they came up with the game plan, and they expected people to do it. And that is maybe the number one commendable quality of the Republican Party. They know how to act when it comes down to it. Something Democrats don't know how to do necessarily.
Excuse me, a big.
And so,
yeah,
what effectively became the McConnell playbook, right? Like that's his legacy, is being the ultimate obstructionist, right?
Right. And it's just like, I think Democrats, again, it's like, again, the decent thing. I don't want to be the party of obstructionists. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I in my heart, like, I don't want to be the snarky people. I don't want to be the people who don't invite the people to tea. Like, those are processes that, like, I do value, because it's like, that's what I believe a functioning government does. But like, you know, you get pushed into these positions of like, yeah, we, again, survival, as I said at the beginning, like sometimes it's about doing the thing that gets people like through the week. And so it's like, yeah, that the lack of sort of a, and again, maybe there's a little bit of you know, still gathering the strength and licking the wounds. I don't know, but it's like we're losing time desperately, and we do need people to stepping up. And it's like, I don't know where that is, but I do hope. I that's the thing. Like just that memo in my, like, somebody needs to start saying, like, grabbing everyone by the by shirt collars and saying, you know, this is what we do, and it's not illegal. It's just it's finding the it's using the little power you have to do it. And because I think that is the other thing. It's like, yeah, like, I'm almost like empathetic to the fact of like, okay, so because I also don't believe just sitting and screaming is productive. So it's like, okay, well, what can you do? And unfortunately, not much. Like, you look at the confirmation hearings, and it's like, yeah, you see brilliant takedowns that don't mean anything.
Don't mean
in the end, because
it's a system that's designed to be partisan and has now reached the peak of it.
Yeah. And so and you know, someone like Chuck Grassley, who you would hope knows better, will go like this. You know, and
Susan Collins
and then you know, do the check marks. And so it's like, yeah, I just don't, it's like I understand the, because it is a losing hand in pretty much every regard. So I think it's easy to be like, ugh. But yeah, like, we need the fighters. We need them to stand up, and I don't know who that is. You know,
it's in terms of the plan too. I think you're right to. I mentioned earlier, like, it goes back to 2008, and that's where it ramped up, and that was the first time where me, as a lifelong Republican, who liked McCain, and suddenly, like, 2 days into Palin, was like, hey, wait, what's this? And it became this weird, that you felt the shift. Like, that's where one of the first big, like, wobble stones I stepped on. Like, wait, what's going on? But anyhow, then, and I mentioned a lot here, McGovern, not McGovern, Goldwater losing, and Kennedy rising, and these young whippersnappers in the Democratic. And so how do we put together a plan? I really think Project 2025 is a culmination of a plan that started with Goldwater, that started with the Southern Strategy, started with, let's make pro-life a conservative thing. Let's make plastic straws a conservative thing. Let's tie it all together. Newt Gingrich, contract with America, all these things. It's this organized, it's Reagan, it's all that stuff. And it builds and builds and builds to where they have that. And we don't, on this side now, have it. I've joked with you even off air, Alden, where like back in the day, I'd sit in my break room with 3 cops and 2 young security guards who are now cops. I found one of them now a detective. And we would make fun of you Democrats. We'd make fun of the way you fight each other, the way you eat each other up, the way you, and we're over here just like dumb and united. And I'm fortunate enough, thank God, I'm not sure I believe in, to get out of that thinking because of that kind of stuff. And I talked about the Sandy Hook being a big thing for me in 2012. Surrounded, I used to, my cop buddies would be on their breaks in my office cleaning their AR-15s that were their personal ones. I was around guns all the time. And that was the first time when I was like, man, this seems really bad. We don't want this to happen anymore. And they were like, we got to protect the Second Amendment. And that's and that's the united front that we're up against. And we're here. Because I'm with you, Nikki. Like I want to be the Tea Party, not the Tea Party, but the party that has tea. Like I want to be. That seems right. Seems right. And we're not there anymore. And we got to shake the cobwebs. And I don't know. I see what's his name, Maxwell Frost out there. AOC. I hope it's the future. I hope it. I hope there's a plan.
There's not people again. Like credit where credit's due. AOC, Maxwell Frost, Jasmine Crockett. Like I really wanted to bring up the. Oh, so go ahead. Well, I pull it up. Go ahead. You're good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like when it's like who are the leaders? It's not that they're not there. It's that can they be like galvanized around as effectively as it needs to be done?
Right.
Will they have the support and honestly, again, not to do like the continuous autopsy of like why Kamala Harris lost, but like I've gone on about it 1,000 times and I'll go on about it one more. Like if you're not supporting the progressive wing of your own sect, of your own party, loosely used, it's like they have gone after more aggressively leftists and progressives over the last 10 years than they have against people that they say are fascists. Like they have repeatedly done this. And it's like, okay, well, where did that get us? Like, where did we... I'm not saying, that it's not hard to like accept change or to accept different things, but it's like they have proven repeatedly that they do not want to let go of the way that the quote things are done. And that's over. I'm sorry. It just is. The way things are done is dead all around.
I think also just on sort of like an AOC point.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just on AOC, like one of the most effective things Fox News ever did, it was the moment she started on the rise, they went in on her. They immediately turned her into a boogeyman type scenario.
Mm-hmm. Oh, remember we got exclusive footage of her dancing on a roof
because they knew she could be powerful.
Yeah,
they knew she could be powerful. They knew she could talk to people.
And I remember properly. I was still hanging around the right quarters, the right wing corridors when that video of her in college dancing. And I remember being upset to some of my friends being like, if you're making her a star because you're showing that she's relatable and everything. But in the end, it was more successful on their side, because how many times do we still hear, oh, she was a bartender. She went to school. The bartender was the night job. The bartender was 2% of her personality. Mm-hmm. It's part of a great story. It's part of her story that she brings up, and she should. Hey, I was campaigning while tending bar, but that turns into, oh, she's unqualified. DEI, and she was dancing provocatively.
Of course,
that has worked for them. And then
what the right to her, is not. It's not exclusive to working on the right side, right political spectrum people. Like it works on moderate people too. Like, and like, I'll say I have a more of a personality clash with a lot of people on what I refer to as the online left than more so than ideology. I'd say it's more a personality clash
because they're annoying. I mean, because they're fucking annoying sometimes. Like
there's a lot of people. Yeah. Again, I won't say zero ideology, but like I can definitely have some things with people, but you know, it's like it's one of those things where it's like I understand we're all trying to sort of, I won't say all, but like most are trying to get to the same general area of life. And yeah, like I think I've seen things just, you know, a way where that sort of right-wing media machine is so effective at demonizing someone like her, where it's like, yeah, even people who are like me or like you know, adjacent to me, whatever, see something and be like, ooh, like, why is that a guy? Why are they doing that? Like, it's just such an effective hit job they did, like, culturally. It's like you can't.
And they're doing it right now.
I mean,
they're doing it right now too.
Yeah.
Like they're playing offense and defense at the same time. Like
Yeah.
I was gonna bring up from New Jersey, Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, who was the first person in these Doge takeovers to really like light a fire and to really like get out there and like call it what it is. And she, you know, while Chuck is chanting, "We will win," you know, trying like fumbling for his fucking little candies that he gives to his grandkids, like he's over there doing that, and she grabbed the mic and was like, when an unelected billionaire can buy an election and keep us out from doing our jobs, we are at war. And of course, the second after she said we're at war, memo from the White House condemning her for this violent speech that she gave and this violent everything. Like, they are constantly playing the game. They are in a constant state of doing it, and the Democrats are fucking bad at it. They're just bad at it. They've gotten worse at it, actually. They were never great, but it's you know, you and I would probably agree. Like, it's the Obama era of messaging. I long for those days. Not that, like, you know, we can all debate the legacy and the failures and the successes, but like the messaging is so bad that like what was hope and change is now like, you guys like Liz Cheney, right? That'll win you back, right? You like Liz? Oh, you don't? Oh, we lost? Oh, well, democracy prevails. Like they're fumbling, and every time that they fumble, it's blood in the water, and it's sad to see. It's real bad.
Yeah. I don't know where the breakthrough happens. You know, it's you know, people, I appreciate more and more people like Jasmine Crockett, who are doing that fight from a seat in a deep red state. Where actually, I'll say as a Texan, it's not even a deep red state. It is the power has been, as we know, like, the power has been so bastardized that it's like it doesn't matter how blue the cities are, like, just gotta be,
because all of your recent all your recent fights have gotten to that. It could happen. Like, it's all gotten really close consistently over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at an electoral map, and it's like massive blue clusters. It's just the way it's been rigged. So it's like, but yeah, someone like her with, you know, I say loose cannon in a positive term, right? Like she will fire.
Shoot first.
Like I appreciate that kind of person. Again, it's just like, I don't know. Again, it's like, do the Democrats / left have this sort of conviction to sort of like sniping at each other and just move forward? Like you gotta find where that, like, we love talking about Star Wars and the rebellion and all that. It's like you gotta get your partisans and your magmas and fight the damn war. Like, you gotta do it.
Clarity of purpose.
And I'm actually really glad you said clarity of purpose right when you did, because I was about to say, and have a healthy amount of self-reflection while you do it, because I think that's been a big thing, whether it's democratic politicians that have careers in this, or even just like the supporters. Like, You know, I think there's been a startling lack of reflecting. And again, like we can fall into the trap of like doing a never-ending autopsy on what happened with the Kamala campaign, and like there's use to that, but also we have to be here in the now as well. But like there is, in my opinion, a very, very, very shocking lack of like reflecting or shifting or thinking, even just vocalizing well, we could have this, that, the other thing, like you know, as we're starting to wind down, we've been at this for almost hour and a half, like shifting into some lighter, funnier things that still connect.
Yeah, where's the good stuff?
Yeah, like well, this isn't a good thing, but like I got into not even an argument because it ended really quick, but like I got into it with a writer from Rolling Stone magazine who wanted to, as many people have, like pin this on Chapel Roan for like not being enthusiastic enough in her support of everything. And it's just like, you people are not fucking serious. First of all, you should not write for Rolling Stone if you think that an artist demanding a little bit of like fire and like, you know, some better treatment for minorities from her politicians is like, if that's too hardcore for you, maybe you shouldn't be writing for a legendary music mag. But it's like they're still fumbling. They're still like, it's because of this and we didn't do this and we did. It's very obvious what you guys didn't do. We all know what you didn't do. Start thinking about it. And now to really transition it into lighter stuff, Ken, unless you had anything to add about any of the dark stuff.
No. Other than I was just typing, you boys. I got to probably roll soon. So
you're good.
Carry on.
Well, how about this? Give us your take on this lighter story that still connects to the overall picture before you go. The only person that has already started to look into the long game of 2028 and the Democratic plan is one Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith. At first, I thought it was a bullshit story, right? At first, I was like, because the original story was that Stephen A. Smith was being looked at as a potential candidate for 2028 for the Democrats, right? And I was like, all right, whatever. Like, sure. I think I texted Nikki and our friend Reed. I said, fuck it. Sure. Why not? Like, whatever. It's starting to look like a little bit real. Like, there's a Twitter account that's like Stephen A. Smith for president, like Stephen, like, and now he's been sharing takes of his, like he came out as like pro-Palestine and like be against Trump's plan for Gaza. And then there are tweets of his that are like, you know, I really love listening to Bernie Sanders talk. Like he really represents like how I feel as an independent. And everyone's like, is Stephen A. Smith gaining momentum? Like, and it's like, look, there was a time, I've said this on the show before, there was a time when I thought the celebrity candidate shit needed to end. We needed to put that back in the bottle. I don't think we can anymore. I'm willing to take any option. I'm in. So President Stephen A. Smith, Ken, what is your take?
Franny might not agree. Yeah, because my view of him is so through the sports perspective, and I've not been a fan. And I think he was part of the people that changed sports journalism for the worse in terms of what it became. But that's old man grumpiness, I suppose. I'm not familiar with his apologies. I'm not familiar with all his takes, but if the takes are good, why not at this point? Why not? Yeah. Because in 2014, because Trump ran 2000. He there's a couple times he technically ran way before 2016, before he came down the elevator in 2014, 2015 range. And I remember when that happened, it was like I didn't take it seriously. I was like, this would be silly. And that was part of the problem. So maybe it's the other way around. No one would take that seriously, but maybe it would work. I don't know.
Yeah. Nikki, how do you feel just Stephen A. Smith, but also just in general? Like, should we just be doing anything right now? Should we be considering anything? Should we get silly with it?
I think in my heart, no. I don't want to be silly. I want to be serious. But I do think just something you said earlier about the communication issue. Everybody on earth is sick of this talking point, but like this whole idea of who is the left's Joe Rogan. I think as a area of thought, it is a little necessary where it's like, who is somebody who can literally just get to somebody, like get through to some random person. And
no, here's why
if Stephen A. Smith is that guy, I don't know if I want him for president, but like as a commentator, if he becomes a political leaning commentator and it works and it's useful and it's good, like then I'm open to it. But like I don't know if I'm ready to.
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. We got to wrap. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine and her 21-year-old son, who I've known since he was 3, and I think I said something last week. Absolutely idolizes Elon Musk. Absolutely idolizes Joe Rogan. Absolutely idolizes this. That's a problem, and that's a problem because of masculinity. It's which has also been framed as bad. It's easy to say. It's easy to say anyone talking about toxic masculinity is talking bad about masculinity as a concept. When I argue it's not inherently bad, and masculinity built on love is actually a good thing and could change the world. But we don't have it built on that, and it's been passed down for centuries. So we have to untangle that thinking, and that's why this 21-year-old young white male has followed his abusive father's footsteps to believe in Musk as this hero, as a Tony Stark in reality, as they're saying what I want to say. And if we can find, this is why I wish, I don't think it seems like it's so close, but I wish Burr would have a full conversion where he'd be the Marin but he's higher on the pecking order than Marin, where, you know, Christopher Titus has a great show you all should check out, and it gets a lot of views. But he can't compete with what's going on. He can't pull in more of those 21-year-old males who are just they're too young to care about, you know, we all have those moments where you realize you connect to the outside world in a way that you didn't fully grasp when you were younger. It is important, Nikki. I agree with you. It's silly. It's a bit of an eye roll for me of the left's Joe Rogan, but it's a problem. It's a problem. On that note,
it's like you need it's like it needs to be someone of trust or you know, like, I'm trying to think what the right way to say it. It's like I think people are somewhat like inherently distrustful of politics, right? So
absolutely.
If a politician tries to make a joke,
with good reason,
very important point to you,
with good reason.
You may, or you know, the impersonal you will be like, you know, I'm not sure about that. But it's like, you know, anybody who was a fan of Stephen A. Smith already through sports commentary, whatever, if he starts talking to you, and it's similar to the humanization thing. It's like we've already connected, as you know, in a non-politically transactional case. It's like we've already made that connection. So when we start now creating that political dialogue, I'm more inclined to listen to you. I think that's like sort of the heart of it. And it's like, and if that works, then that's needed. You know, you talk about messaging, you talk about what is the message, who's delivering it. Like, I think that's part of it. It's like we don't necessarily have again, for a lot of healthy reasons, a directly personal trust with politicians, whether or not they are qualified or educated on a topic or not. Like it doesn't happen as easily. So yeah, I think you do need that person who's sort of like extra political, who can then now like address those issues. And Stephen A. Smith is stepping up to the plate to do that.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, if it's Stephen,
I'll be happy to see
Nick Wright does it too. If you're all familiar with Nick Wright and his long hair,
and to build on all of this and connect it to Ken's point about like the burden and like the curse of like this fucking expected decency, right? Is like, we need a bastard for progressive principles and liberal principles and leftist principles. Like we cannot go to 28 with somebody like trying to play the respect game. Like, things have changed. We have brushed now with a fascism that we have never seen in this country. Obviously, we've seen it plenty of other places, but like, things are very, very different. Whoever you run needs to not just say like, I'm going to debate Donald Trump. They need to say like, I'm going to destroy and expose Donald Trump. The verbiage, everything matters. You need, and with these demographics that flock to Rogan and Musk and everything, like, I think of reframing again of like that type of masculinity is weak. Like you need to run somebody, unfortunately, probably a man, you know, just given the way things are. There needs to be a man running on the Democratic ticket that looks into a camera and says, you are weak if for supporting this type of hatred. And I think it would really, really make a difference. I don't know who this person is.
I think you would.
But,
I'd be careful at framing if I. Yeah, I think that's the idea behind it, but that's their point is they don't want to be weak, and on their side. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying.
But you also don't need to win them back. I think that's how you get people that don't show up. That's the other thing too, is that we spent the last cycle trying to win people back. They're a cult. They're not coming back.
Yeah. I agree. No, I agree with that. I'm talking about centuries of. My dad has a man cave sign up on his door, and I just kind of when he said and I went, you know, we don't really need to call it a man cave anymore. Not for any gender, just like it's a sign of stereotypical men.
Relaxing room.
And the He-Man Woman Haters Club.
But I lost him on that. I never got him back from it.
Yeah. And he's not coming back from that. And not just his whole demo. Like
but
I guess what I'm saying is like to tie it in to your idea about like the masculinity and everything is like there are people that no longer think that the Democrats have any use whatsoever.
Right.
The fact that we had that the turnout was so much worse this time than it was in 20. Like they're losing people, not necessarily to MAGA. They're losing people in general. Like
36%.
The CEO assassin has higher approval ratings than some Democrats.
Yeah,
and so it's just like
there's our Joe Rogan.
Like honestly, like there needs to be
give him a podcast.
Oh my God,
I don't want to sound like I'm fighting. I think I rub up against the like I've always told you, until you can win in a fist fight with him. That's what you got to be prepared to do. So my friend Jeff May is a professional boxer and progressive as they fucking come is a great example because he will knock that guy out in the Cybertruck a way that I can't. And so when you're coming at them with like, hey, your masculinity is weak, it's a fight. So we got to be prepared to win that fight. We all need boxing classes is what I'm saying.
It's not boxing classes or something because again, what pisses me off, not about what you're saying, but just about the landscape is that we tasted it. We had it. They picked Tim Walz to do this specific thing.
Yeah, I agree because
they had Tim Walz, they muzzled him almost immediately. Immediately.
I think what I'm reacting to as my dog goes crazy is the centuries of the patriarchy and how do I untangle that? Just like how do I untangle evangelical Christianity from government? And it's bigger that where it's like I do feel there was a problem. I had a very progressive female friend of mine. We were talking about this a couple years ago. She goes. I do think one of the things we've done is we have tried to take away the voice of just men who feel they have no place, and we're driving them away. And that is the example of the 21-year-old kid who now finds a home. We're all looking for homes, and so this isn't about what you're saying. It's about I constantly ask myself every time I go to a comedy club, how can I fight that? Because I'm a dude. I hate when I get called dude bro. If one person ever again calls me one of the Collider mediocre white guys, I will probably slap them because that was bullshit. And I would never want to. And we are all more talented than most of the fucks you had on that channel, anyways, who you championed as heroes who now still have careers. We weren't given a. You take away our voice, you drove a lot of people away, and that's part of the problem I have. You can tell my passion coming up because I stand up on a stage in a comedy club, and how do I communicate to those people? How do I communicate to them? And I got to meet them somewhere. And that's I think actually you and I are talking about two different things.
We are talking about different things, but I do think they connect because my response to that is not even disagreement. My response to that is this: you're right, and I think your friend who said that to you a couple years ago is right. That there was a shift in it's not just no longer about like raising all voices. It's about fuck you if you're a guy. That has come up, right?
Yeah.
My response to that is not that it's wrong, because it certainly is not. I agree. It's just that these guys that then like are like, where's my place? Them flocking into this is a fucking them problem too. Like it is an education problem because you have been shafted and you've been fucked and you've spoken about this openly for gigs, for opportunities or whatever, because of we no longer have a place for these white dudes, right? These Gen X white dudes. We don't have a place for that.
But
yeah, like,
which is okay.
You didn't flock and then become a fucking asshole. Like,
yes.
So it's like there also is a them problem. There's an education problem. There's a parenting problem. It's like the fact that they like. I'm sick of like, and I'm not saying you're doing this or your friend, but I'm sick of the. Won't somebody think about them? They have nowhere to turn. It's just like, yes, they do have places to turn. Yes, they do. Go volunteer at a fucking humane society. Like, stop being fucking useless. Like go to the fucking library. Go do anything else. Big brothers, big sisters. Like do fucking anything. I'm tired of this. Like, it's so hard to be decent. Like, as we've gone on about how decency is a burden, I'm now going to advocate for it. Like, it's just like,
but because we do.
But it pisses me off because your friend's right. Like,
it's hard.
There is a lot of shoutiness, right? There's a lot of shoutiness. Like we mention Star Wars all the time. I got fucking shit on a Star Wars show once for talking about the things that the sequels does for Rey, and then being told it's not my place to speak on it, and it wasn't their place to tell those stories. Them being J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, Lawrence Kasdan, etc. Right. You know what? Whatever, fine. But like anybody that is like, this isn't for me anymore, and whatever it is, whether it's work or pop culture or actual politics, and so your solution is then I'm going to go join up with the most destructive thing. That's on fucking you. That isn't on the woman that shouted you down. I'm not saying you're saying that, of course, but like, it's not on the woman that shouted you down. It's not on society. It's not on the job market. That is on you, motherfucker, because I also am struggling. I also am like worried about my bank account almost every fucking day. And I could get on here very easily, say, fuck Ken, fuck all my friends. I'm going to go in for me and get mine. And it would be so easy. It would be so easy. So I have no fucking sympathy left in my soul for fucking whiny baby back bitch boys out there that are just like, oh, well, I said, you don't understand. We can't say anything anymore. Fuck you. Fuck. And if you're watching this, especially fuck you, because how dare you get an hour, 42 minutes in and not pick up a lesson? Like, it blows my mind. Fuck these people. And The Rise of Skywalker is a great movie. I rest my case.
Yeah.
And the Hollywood Reporter should classify the anti-fascist movie.
And the Hollywood Reporter. Hollywood Reporter is like, they did a list of anti-fascist films, which, like, great, awesome. I'm actually really glad they did that, of course. But they put Empire on there, and Nikki and I were talking about how, like, they're so afraid to put anything that's not Empire because they need to seem like they're real cinephiles. But it's like, Empire is about loss. It's not the best anti-fascist Star Wars film. They don't win. Rise of Skywalker, Rogue One, Last Jedi. These are all movies where we stick it to them. That's anti-fascism. Oh, it blows my mind. I hate these people.
Solo. I still contend Solo is one of the more political Star Wars films around.
Solo's great, man.
I'm gonna yell at this dog. We gotta go. Hear me out. Yeah, no, I just think it is a choice. It is a choice. The Chris Gores of the world make a choice, and all those people make a choice. I just think I'm acting. I'm always like, how do I communicate with that? Because again, I've come from the different circles, so it's like, how do I communicate that to my father when he says, well, I can't have a man cave anymore, you know? How do I
there's a
find a better way to say it?
Of like, there's a spectrum of like, where do you leave people behind and where do you declare people lost causes? Like, there's a spectrum there, and finding where to land on that is probably the hardest thing you have to face.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm a comic that works in clubs, and I have a lot of friends of mine who won't step in clubs because clubs book problematic, complicated people. They book straight up criminals, and I get it. But you're then turning around and doing comedy to the choir, and I'm not doing that. And I'm in those clubs. I'm going to Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm going to maybe, hopefully, Greensboro in a month. But it's like, so I'm working in different. I'm painting with different paint, and both ways aren't bad. You know what I mean? So for me, I always come from
the angle of,
how do I communicate?
Gen X white comics.
But how do I communicate to those that look like me? How do I communicate to those that look
you,
like me?
Hey, your nails person or whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
No, it's ridiculous. And and I think the expectation that people might have that like we do leave those communities behind is also stupid. It's like the amount of cool people here, even in Florida, which I would argue is like just an embarrassment of a state. It's like there are cool people here. There are people here fighting for immigrant rights. There are people here trying to create an art scene. There are people here trying to protect a queer scene. We have, outside of California, the gayborhood in the United States.
You do.
It's Wilton Manors in Fort Lauderdale. It had, I think, outside of not Pasadena. What is that place I'm thinking of? Outside of Palm Springs, it had the first all queer city council in the entire United States. Like, as
a SoCaler, I was like, oh yeah, that's really far apart.
Well, it was because of the letter P. I was like, I wanted to say P. I was like, that's not it. I'm thinking of another place.
I'd have a Florida example if I'd be stupid if I was talking about Florida. So
no, totally. It would be like Miami. When people say like, oh, Miami, and I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'm like 5 hours away from.
That's
Miami,
fascinating.
So
that's fascinating.
Yeah. It's like that stuff matters.
Yeah.
Exactly. P town. Exactly. I really think that we're in a bad place. And I said on Blue Sky that I wanted to end this with like some good news. I don't know if anyone has any.
It's out there. It's like, look, you got to look for the lights. One representative has left the Doge caucus based on Musk's actions. All right, that's one. That's one. We'll take it. Let's do it. Let's take the one. Let's take that little win. More federal judges, many appointed by Biden, are still blocking things, and we got a smorgasbord of legal suits and appeals, and that can be its own kind of. And sometimes I think done intentionally on the right to slog it all. But that's all I can offer, Alden.
Shout out to the federal employees who got the buyout offers, and out of spite, we're like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm staying.
Yeah. It's not, the pinpricks of light are small and faint right now, to be clear. But I do agree.
I have one. In the aftermath, I believe, of the Eaton fire, there was that giant ass bear who they had to lure out of a burnt down house, but he was too fat to be tranquilized. So they had to line up a bunch of rotisserie chickens.
Yeah.
And they lined up these rotisserie chickens to get them to crawl out like a Looney Tunes ass plot.
But did you hear this? One of the angles of the story is a 525-pound bear. It was framed as the poor thing ran for safety from the fire, which, a lot of wild animals die in these fires. And I hate that as a dog owner, an animal lover, and all that stuff. But there's reason to believe the bear had just lived under there anyways.
He had previously been in there under their
this
home.
Wasn't like he was just like, well, this is where I live, and no one had paid attention. Like, and Altadena is into the hills a bit, so just like Burbank's into the hills, and bears and coyotes are very common in our neighborhood.
That makes me like him more, actually, because that proves that he was a good neighbor. He never hurt anyone.
Well, I just like hanging out here.
I just live here, man.
I bite the fish off, heads off fish. If anyone gets that kiss, kiss, bang, bang reference.
Good for him. Indeed. Yes. Good for him. Yes, you can super chat now. I mean, obviously we didn't say that earlier, so we are wrapping up, but yes, you can. Cam's a message here, Cameron. Love this podcast. It's very therapeutic. Love your takes and your energy. We're in this together. Fight the empire, which is the line they should have kept, and I'm glad they did.
I get it. And I
also like how Cameron's profile picture is the traitor stormtrooper.
I don't want to be. I just want to say, I was in my head. I'm definitely not fighting or debating Alden on what you're saying, because I really think Tim Walz's their weird campaign works. Because I think that stuff kind of works. I was in a line of business for 17 years where the customer was never right, and at times I got to tell them that, and it was a great joy to be like, no, you're a problem. Get the fuck off this property. So I think that was the energy behind Walls. You hit, because I got a set tonight that I'm worried about, and I've in my head on, do I go decent or do I be myself? And that's kind of where I'm at. So I don't want anyone to think there was a fraction. I love you both.
No,
You must do what you feel is right, of course.
I never ever felt like you were disagreeing with me. You were right that we were talking about the same thing from two different angles. Because you're talking about what do we do about this culturally, always and forever, and I'm talking about the game and how do we get our people back. How do we make people believe in a democratic anything right now? Because again, like it's it ain't great. But in terms of yours, I don't know what you're gonna do tonight, but I know you haven't watched Hacks yet. But there's a scene in Hacks where the Gene Smart's character Deborah Vance is about to go do a set in Vegas, and it's her taping her special, and she walks up to her manager with some regular looking shoes and some really, really tall, flashy, like gold glittery stiletto heels. And she says, like, which should I wear tonight? And the manager says, you should probably go with these, like probably safer, like, and more comfortable. And then the show never gives you her moment of having the answer, but she walks out on stage and they do a cut of her feet and she's wearing the gold heels. And it is such a fucking cool little moment of like, do the other thing. Remember, the horizon's at the top, it's interesting. The horizon's at the bottom, it's interesting. It's in the middle, it's boring as shit. Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to end it. There are some other like little good news things coming up and like little things that are out there, and we'll
do some entertainment next week. We got to get Molly in here to talk Buffy, right? We're going to try to do that, right?
At some point it'll happen. She had to do something. She had to do something personal for her life today, like a loser, not making content 24/7. God, no, Molly's
God. How dare you, Molly?
Yeah,
How
Buffy's
Molly?
back. Trying to think. Sigourney Weaver talked about her Star Wars character today for the first time. There are little happy things that are happening all over. Again, Matthew Stokes, thank you for this generous donation. That's not the American dollar, but we'll take it.
That rumbling noise is my bathroom being redone right now, so that's what you're all hearing.
Glazed real hard.
Absolutely, Molly. Come be our Valentine.
Aw, show Valentines. You're always my show Valentine, guys.
All right. Nikki, thank you for coming in today and bringing us your perspective. All right, buddy?
Yeah, no worries. Appreciate the hang, no matter what the content.
Subscribe, like, comment politely and dignified with decency. And we'll see you next time.
Or not.
Or not.